Consistency is the secret sauce behind every great success story. It's easy to start something, anyone can do that. What's hard is staying the course, day in and day out. It's easy to make grand plans when you're motivated, when the energy is high, and when the ideas. But real success is built on those small, seemingly insignificant actions you take every day, even when motivation fades and the excitement wanes. The truth is, life doesn't care about your grand ideas. The world doesn't reward good intentions. What gets rewarded is what you do consistently. The real power comes from being relentless, from showing up even when you don't feel like it. You can't wait for motivation to strike. Motivation is a spark, it can get you started. But consistency, that's the fire that keeps you going. When you're consistent, you build trust with yourself. You prove to yourself that you're capable, that you can follow through on your promises. And when you trust yourself, you unlock your greatest potential. Success isn't about doing everything right in one big burst of energy. It's about doing the right things over and over again, no matter what life throws your way. So how do you force yourself to be consistent? It starts with discipline, with creating habits that push you forward, even when you don't feel like it. It's about making consistency a non-negotiable part of your life. Let me tell you, the magic doesn't happen in the big moments. The magic happens in the mundane, in the day-to-day grind. Consistency is the backbone of success. If you want to change your life, change your habits, start small and make consistency your goal. Not just when it's easy, not just when you feel inspired, but every day. Because every small, consistent action you take adds up to something huge over time. Don't expect to be consistent just by sheer willpower. Consistency comes from making it a habit. You don't need to feel motivated every day to show up. You just need to make it part of your routine. The more you do something, the easier it becomes. Make consistency part of your daily rituals and it will become automatic. If you're waiting for the perfect moment to start being consistent, you'll be waiting forever. Start small. Don't try to overhaul your life all at once. Pick one thing you can commit to every day. Make it simple, make it doable, and do it every day without fail. Treat your goals like a commitment. When you set a goal, don't treat it as a suggestion, treat it as a must-do. Whether it's exercising, working on your business, or reading, make it non-negotiable. If you tell yourself that something must be done, you'll find a way to make it happen. No excuses. Momentum is the result of consistent action. When you show up day after day, the results will start to compound. You won't see massive results right away, but every small action you take builds a momentum that will carry you forward when things get tough. You need to track your consistency to see how far you've come. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see immediate results, but if you measure your progress, you'll notice a loss along the way. Tracking also keeps you accountable. It shows you that you are making progress, even if it's slow. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. Life will throw curveballs. You'll have days when you slip up, when you miss your goal, when things don't go according to plan. But that doesn't mean you stop. It means you get back on track the next day. One setback doesn't undo all the progress you've made. Don't let one mistake define you. Just keep going. It's easy to set goals, but without a system to back them up, they're just wishful thinking. Create systems, habits, and processes that make consistency easier. The system becomes the framework that supports your success, so even on days when motivation is low, the system gets you moving. Consistency thrives in an environment free of distractions. If you want to stay on track, you must eliminate the things that pull your focus away. That means cutting out the mindless scrolling on your phone, saying no to things that aren't aligned with your goals, and prioritizing what really matters. Consistency requires focus. It's easy to get caught up in the results, but success is a journey, not a destination. Consistency is about embracing the process. When you focus on doing the work every day, you'll eventually reach your goals. Don't wait for the perfect outcome to reward yourself. Celebrate the act of showing up every day, even if the results haven't come yet. Motivation is fleeting. Some days you'll be fired up and ready to go. Other days you won't feel like doing anything. But discipline is what gets you through the tough days. Discipline is the force that drives you to show up even when you don't want to. Build your consistency by strengthening your discipline. When discipline becomes second nature, consistency becomes inevitable. Consistency is not a one-time action or an occasional burst of effort. It's a habit, a discipline that must be cultivated over time. Too many people wait for the right moment or the perfect conditions before they act. But here's the truth, there will never be a perfect moment, and the right conditions will never line up as you expect. Success doesn't come from a few moments of intense effort, it comes from what you do consistently, day in and day out. When you understand that consistency is a habit, you realize that it's something you can control. It's not about relying on motivation to carry you through. Motivation is fleeting, and it will always come and go. The real power lies in building the habit of consistency. Once it becomes a habit, it becomes automatic. You don't have to wait for the urge strike. You don't have to wait for the stars to align. You simply show up day after day because it's part of who you are. You do the work because that's what you've conditioned yourself to do. If you want to see lasting change in your life, you must start small. Begin with something you can do every day, no matter how insignificant it might seem. It might be reading a chapter of a book, working out for 20 minutes, or writing for 15 minutes. The key is to make it something that you can do every single day, and as you begin to do it consistently, you will notice the difference. At first, it may seem like nothing is changing, but over time, as the days add up, you'll begin to see how those small actions compound into something extraordinary. The real magic of consistency is in its cumulative effect. Imagine building a house. Each brick you lay might seem small, but when you keep laying bricks consistently, you end up with a building. That's the power of consistency. It's not about one big, flashy moment of success. It's about taking small actions consistently and trusting that, over time, they will add up to something far greater than you could have imagined. Think of it like this. Every day you show up, you're strengthening your character. Every time you keep a commitment to yourself, you're proving that you can rely on yourself, that you can do what you say you'll do. That's the foundation of self-respect and self-trust, and it's built on the simple act of being consistent. But here's the thing. When you make consistency a habit, it becomes easier to show up even when you don't feel like it. Motivation can be unreliable, but a habit is something that's ingrained in your daily life. You don't need to wait for the perfect mood or the perfect energy to do the work. You just do it because that's what you've trained yourself to do. And when you make consistency your default setting, the results will come, even on the days when you'd rather do anything but the work. The people who achieve great things are the ones who make consistency their ally. They don't rely on bursts of motivation. They don't wait for inspiration to strike. They show up day after day, and in doing so, they accomplish what others only dream of. So if you want to change your life, if you want to see real, lasting progress, then start making consistency a habit. Don't wait for the big moments. Embrace the small, consistent actions that will eventually lead to the results you desire. The beauty of consistency is that it doesn't need to be perfect. You don't have to do everything perfectly to be consistent. You just need to keep moving forward, even if it's at a slow pace. Consistency is about persistence, about showing up every day, even when the results aren't immediate, even when the journey seems long. It's about the little decisions that, over time, turn into something significant. In the end, the habit of consistency will be your greatest ally in the pursuit of your goals. So, make it a daily practice, make it part of your routine, and trust that, with every step, you're building the life you want, one small, consistent action at a time. Starting small is often the best way to make lasting change in your life. Many people make the mistake of thinking that they need to take massive action right out of the gate, but that's not how true success is built. You don't have to make big, overwhelming changes all at once. The most important thing is to start. Even if it's just a small step, that first move is the one that sets the whole process in motion. If you're waiting for the perfect conditions to take action, you'll be waiting forever. Life doesn't come with a perfect setup. It's not about the ideal moment or the perfect opportunity. Success is not about perfection. It's about progress. And progress doesn't require huge leaps. It's about moving forward, no matter how small the step. Starting small isn't about underestimating your goals. It's about building momentum in a sustainable way. When you take that first step, no matter how tiny it may seem, you begin to shift your mindset. You're telling yourself that you are capable of action, that you can make progress. That small step turns into something much bigger over time. Too many people get caught up in the enormity of their goals. They see the end result, the grand vision, and it paralyzes them. They think they need to know exactly how everything is going to unfold, how every obstacle will be overcome. But that's not how life works. No one has all the answers up front. The key is to take that first step, just one small action, and trust that it will lead to the next. It's the compound effect in action. Small, consistent actions build upon each other and create results that you never could have achieved if you waited for the perfect moment. This idea of starting small is not about being cautious or playing it safe. It's about taking action in a way that is manageable and sustainable. If you want to run a marathon, you don't start by running 26 miles on day one. You start by lacing up your shoes, walking a little, running a little, and building endurance day by day. You learn to enjoy the process, and as you continue, the distance becomes easier to cover. But that first step, the one that seems so small, is the one that gets you moving in the right direction. When you start small, you also set yourself up for long-term success. Instead of trying to change everything at once and overwhelming yourself, you're taking manageable steps that are more likely to become permanent habits. This approach allows you to adapt, learn, and grow at your own pace. You're not biting off more than you can chew, and you're not setting yourself up for failure by overloading your plate. Remember, every expert was once a beginner. Every successful person started with small steps, and those small steps compounded into something bigger over time. No one started at the top. You have to give yourself permission to begin, no matter how small the beginning might seem. The key to success is not in making a big splash all at once. It's in consistently showing up and doing the work, even in the small things. When you take small actions, you also build confidence. Each step you take reinforces your belief in yourself. It's easy to feel discouraged when you look at the big picture and think about how far you have to go. But when you focus on small, manageable tasks, you get to celebrate each win along the way. And those wins, no matter how small, fuel your drive to keep moving forward. Starting small is not about doing less, it's about being smart. It's about understanding that the journey to success is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's about laying the foundation for the future by taking simple, deliberate steps every day. It's about making progress, not perfection. So don't be afraid to start small. Start where you are with what you have and take that first step. You don't need to know exactly how everything will unfold. You just need to start. Because once you start, momentum kicks in, and as you keep moving forward, you'll realize that small steps are all you ever needed to reach your destination. The key is to begin and then to keep going one small step at a time. Setting non-negotiable standards in your life is one of the most powerful commitments you can make. It's the act of drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is who I am. And this is what I will accept from myself and others. Standards are not about what you do when it's easy or when others are watching. They are about what you commit to doing every day, regardless of circumstances. Many people live their lives in a way that's too flexible, too accommodating. They set goals or intentions, but when the going gets tough, when distractions come in, they adjust those goals. They make excuses, they negotiate. But what happens when you set non-negotiable standards is that you stop giving yourself room for excuses. You create a framework for success that doesn't bend when things get difficult. Instead of letting circumstances dictate your actions, you let your standards define your actions. When you set non-negotiable standards, you are telling yourself that you deserve the best. You're saying, I am not willing to settle for less than I am capable of. You raise the bar for yourself, and that forces you to grow. Your actions become aligned with your highest potential. You don't negotiate with mediocrity. You don't settle for less than excellence in your work, your relationships, or your personal development. This doesn't mean you demand perfection. It means you demand consistency, integrity, and commitment. It means that you will show up every day, do what needs to be done, and hold yourself to the highest possible standard. You will no longer let minor obstacles or distractions pull you off track. You are clear about what is important to you, and you are unwavering in your dedication to those priorities. Non-negotiable standards give you a sense of clarity and direction. Without them, you'll find yourself wandering, reacting to life's ups and downs, and allowing the world to dictate your path. With them, you have a roadmap that leads you to success, no matter what challenges arise along the way. You create a sense of purpose and focus that propels you forward, regardless of what others are doing or saying. You are not swayed by temporary emotions, outside opinions, or fleeting circumstances. You stay true to your vision because your standards are clear and non-negotiable. Setting these standards doesn't just affect your work or your goals, it impacts your relationships as well. When you set non-negotiable standards for how you expect to be treated, you eliminate toxic relationships and interactions. You stop allowing others to take advantage of you or drain your energy. You only engage with people who respect your boundaries and share your values. When you have non-negotiable standards, you attract the right people into your life because you're no longer willing to accept anything less. In your business or career, non-negotiable standards mean that you don't tolerate mediocrity. You are relentless in your pursuit of excellence, and you hold yourself accountable to the highest possible outcomes. You don't make excuses for subpar results. You don't blame circumstances. Instead, you accept full responsibility for your results, knowing that if you raise your standards, your results will improve as well. Setting non-negotiable standards also means understanding the power of discipline. Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your achievements, and when your standards are non-negotiable, discipline becomes your best friend. It's what keeps you moving forward when you'd rather quit. It's what ensures that you don't just talk about success, but that you live it every day. People often talk about how successful individuals have extraordinary talent or luck, but the real secret is simple. They have high non-negotiable standards. They know what they want, and they won't settle for less. They show up, do the work, and never compromise on their commitments, no matter how tough things get. When you set non-negotiable standards, you're building a life that's driven by purpose, clarity, and consistency. You're not waiting for the right opportunities to come to you. You are creating the conditions for success, step by step. You are saying, this is the standard I hold myself to, and nothing less will do. This mindset, this commitment to excellence becomes the driving force that shapes every area of your life. So stop negotiating with your potential. Stop allowing excuses, distractions, or the opinions of others to derail your progress. Set non-negotiable standards today and make them your unwavering commitment. Hold yourself to a higher standard and you will watch your life transform in ways you never imagined. It all starts with making the decision to refuse to settle for anything less than the best. And from that moment on, your life will be on a new trajectory, a trajectory that only moves forward. Understanding that consistency is what builds momentum is a powerful realization, because it shifts the focus from waiting for the perfect moment or the right inspiration to simply taking action. Momentum isn't something that magically happens overnight. It's the result of showing up consistently, day after day, whether you feel like it or not. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it's small and seemingly insignificant, but as it continues, it gathers speed and mass, building strength. That's what consistency does. It builds momentum. Too many people get frustrated early in the process. They put in a few days or maybe even a few weeks of hard work, but they don't see the results they were hoping for. The secret here is that momentum doesn't come quickly. It's a gradual build. It takes time, but the more you show up and do the work, the more momentum you create. Every action you take, no matter how small, is like adding another layer to the snowball. The results may not be immediate, but the longer you stay consistent, the faster and bigger that momentum will grow. What most people fail to understand is that momentum isn't something you can force. You can't just snap your fingers and expect it to happen. It's the natural outcome of persistent, consistent action. When you take action consistently, you start creating a rhythm, a flow, where things start to feel easier. Tasks that once seemed difficult begin to feel almost effortless. Your mind, your body, and your environment start aligning with the direction you're moving toward, and before you know it, things start falling into place. That's momentum in action. Think about it. When you first start a new project, whether it's writing a book, starting a business, or getting in shape, the beginning is always the hardest part. You feel like you're pushing against resistance, like you're swimming upstream. But the more you show up, the more you commit to doing the work, the easier it becomes. The resistance fades, and instead of feeling like you're fighting against everything, it starts to feel like the world is supporting you. That's the power of consistency. It's like turning a key in a lock. At first it takes effort, but once the lock starts turning, the door opens easily. Consistency then becomes your best friend in building momentum. It doesn't require massive bursts of energy, just consistent effort. You don't need to give everything you've got all at once. What's more important is that you show up every single day. Even when things get tough, even when motivation fades, consistency keeps you moving. It's the act of doing something, no matter how small, that creates the environment for momentum to flourish. As you build momentum, you begin to see the power of compounding effort. At first, the results may be slow, almost invisible. But with each day of consistency, the compound effect kicks in. The small actions that once felt insignificant now accumulate into big results. It's like investing small amounts of money regularly. The returns might seem small at first, but over time, they add up to something far more substantial. The key to momentum is patience. It's not about immediate gratification or instant results. It's about the steady, relentless effort that eventually pays off. The key is to trust the process and stick with it. The more you show up, the more the momentum builds. And when momentum is on your side, things start to happen faster and easier. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. Another important point to remember is that consistency breeds confidence. The more you consistently take action, the more you prove to yourself that you can do it. You begin to trust yourself more, which further fuels your commitment to the process. With every small victory, your belief in your ability to succeed grows stronger. This confidence becomes part of the momentum, pushing you forward with greater force. But don't be fooled by the seeming lack of progress in the early stages. It's easy to get discouraged when you're not seeing immediate results, but you must remember that momentum takes time to build. It's the daily actions, the consistency in doing what needs to be done, that is laying the foundation for bigger results down the road. Hey, don't let temporary setbacks or slow progress deter you. Keep moving forward and trust that momentum will come. Every small step counts. In the end, success is not about dramatic breakthroughs or huge leaps. It's about the small, consistent actions you take every day that eventually lead to massive momentum. So understand this: consistency isn't just a good habit, it's the engine that drives success. When you show up day after day, doing the work even when it's hard, you will eventually find that the momentum you've built carries you forward faster and with greater ease. Stay committed, stay consistent, and let momentum do the heavy lifting. Measuring your progress regularly is one of the most vital practices you can adopt on your journey toward success. It's not enough to just set goals and work tirelessly toward them without periodically assessing how far you've come. The truth is, you can't improve what you don't measure. When you measure your progress, you're giving yourself the opportunity to evaluate, course correct, and fine-tune your approach. It's about taking a step back from the day-to-day grind and asking yourself, how am I doing? When you measure progress, you're creating a feedback loop. You're giving yourself a clear picture of where you stand in relation to your goals. Without this feedback, you can easily become lost in the process, feeling like you're working hard but not making any headway. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't have concrete evidence of progress. But when you measure, you can see exactly where you're succeeding and where you need to make adjustments. This clarity is essential to maintaining motivation and focus, but measuring progress isn't just about looking at your end goals. It's about tracking the small wins, the incremental improvements that often go unnoticed. These little victories add up, and they are just as important, if not more so, than the big wins. Acknowledging and celebrating those small wins along the way builds momentum and fuels your desire to keep going. It's easy to overlook how far you've come when you're constantly focusing on how far you have to go. Measuring progress forces you to recognize the distance you've already covered. When you measure regularly, you also give yourself the chance to identify patterns. If something isn't working, you can spot it early and make necessary adjustments. Maybe you're not dedicating enough time to certain tasks, or maybe your approach needs to be tweaked. Without regular assessment, these issues might go unnoticed until it's too late. By measuring, you're staying proactive rather than reactive. You are actively engaged in the process, constantly seeking ways to improve. One of the most critical aspects of measuring progress is being honest with yourself. It's easy to sugarcoat the results, to tell yourself you're doing fine when in reality you're not. But this honesty is what allows you to make meaningful progress. The truth is, if you're not where you want to be, it's a direct reflection of what you've done or haven't done. Measuring gives you an opportunity to look at yourself objectively, without excuses, and ask, what can I do better? Another important thing to keep in mind when measuring progress is the idea of setting clear, specific benchmarks. It's one thing to say, I want to be more successful, but it's another thing entirely to say, I want to increase my sales by 20% over the next 6 months. When you have clear, measurable goals, it's much easier to track your progress. You need something concrete to compare your current results with. Without clear benchmarks, measuring progress can feel like you're guessing or wandering aimlessly. Be specific, set measurable goals, and then track your results with precision. The key to effective measurement is consistency. Just as you can't improve your life overnight, you also can't expect to measure your progress just once and be done with it. This is an ongoing process. The more consistently you measure, the more you stay connected to the journey. When you measure often, you're less likely to become complacent or to drift away from your objectives. It keeps you in the game, holding yourself accountable to your ambitions and values. Measuring your progress also helps you stay motivated. Success isn't always a straight line, and there will be times when it feels like you're moving backwards or stuck in place. But when you measure consistently, you'll often find that you're actually making more progress than you realize. These moments of reflection can reignite your motivation, giving you the energy to push through tough times. They remind you that progress is happening, even if it's not always as fast as you'd like. Let's not forget the psychological aspect of measuring your progress. Humans are naturally wired to feel satisfaction when they see results. This is why it's so important to regularly evaluate how far you've come. Each small win, each bit of progress, reinforces the belief that what you're doing is working. This is what keeps you in motion. Without it, you can lose sight of the bigger picture and become discouraged by the challenges you face. By tracking your progress, you constantly remind yourself that your efforts are not in vain. Regularly measuring your progress also enables you to set new goals and continue to grow. As you achieve one goal, you open up the opportunity to set the next one. Each milestone you hit is not an end, but a stepping stone to something greater. When you measure, you're able to evaluate your current position and ask yourself, what's next? This constant process of setting, achieving, and reassessing goals is what keeps you growing, learning, and advancing in your life and career. Finally, measuring progress is an essential part of building long-term success. It's easy to get lost in the day-to-day tasks and think that progress is measured by how busy you are or how much time you spend working. But the true measure of success is found in the results. And those results are only evident when you stop and look at how far you've come. So don't skip this step. Make it a point to regularly assess where you stand, recognize how much you've accomplished, and take note of what adjustments are needed. By doing so, you'll stay on track, stay motivated, and keep making the kind of progress that leads to real, lasting success. Accepting that setbacks will happen, and more importantly, continuing despite them, is one of the most crucial lessons for anyone who wants to achieve lasting success. Life is unpredictable. There will be days when everything goes right, and there will be days when nothing seems to go your way. It's easy to think that success should come without obstacles, but the truth is setbacks are a natural part of the process. They don't mean that you failed. They simply mean that you're pushing your limits and moving beyond your comfort zone. The key is not to let these setbacks stop you, but to keep going, regardless. Too many people make the mistake of seeing setbacks as signs to quit, to throw in the towel, or to settle for less than they know they are capable of. When things don't go as planned, when you encounter difficulties or face disappointments, it's easy to start doubting yourself. You begin to wonder if you're on the right path, if you're good enough, or if it's all worth the effort. But that kind of thinking is exactly what holds you back. Setbacks are not the end, they are part of the process. In fact, they are often the moments that teach you the most if you are willing to learn from them.